Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. Wednesdays is IPSA Day. This is IPSA Kind of Magic, starring Hamish McLay of Search and Convey. Hamish and I have put this together to really help explain, educate, inform those people out there, both members of the IPSA community and those who are looking to find reasons why they need specialists in the field of search. And to this end, I thought, me being a bumbling fool, not really knowing much about this at all, or except what I've learned from at the feet of Hamish and his compatriots, I thought I'd ask Hamish to explain to me a little bit more about what is search, why we need search professionals, and what is the benefit behind using localized search specialists who have clubbed together, of course, to be part of the great organization which is IPSA. So, Hamish, welcome. Tell me more, please.
Well, first of all, apologies indeed for my late arrival today. We would normally go out at 12 o'clock. A few technical hold-ups, but nothing new in that.
If you and a pasty on my side, I'm afraid. So.
Oh, yes. Whilst we were resolving technical issues. Yes, Convey, one of those aspects, and I sort of found this particularly more recently, which is why I think this conversation is particularly useful. There are many people out there who sort of have an understanding that, I've got to do this conveyancing malarkey in order to get my new property. What on earth is it about? There are some people who think they're pretty well used to it, but the law keeps changing. So something has happened since the last time they did it, more often than not. And altogether, we have a team within IPSA. Although basically this is an IPSA kind of magic, we're speaking within our own community, but we also want to demonstrate what we, as a supporting community, actually do for people out there within the search. And one of the most important, one of the critical things is we have technology these days. And as a consequence of technology, and you find this all the time, a solicitor, a conveyancer, a property lawyer, any of these people can work with you from any part of the country. It doesn't matter where they reside. You could even use somebody from Sri Lanka if you wanted.
However, I mean, just stopping you for a second, I just want us to pause for a tenth of a second and realize how the world has changed in 10 years. And we would have thought that you could make that statement, Hamish, that you could work with people from as far afield as Sri Lanka or wherever and still have a close-knit community. Sorry, I think it's astounding, really.
Well, I think just to extend it, two solicitors that we know, Juliet, who joins us on a Thursday morning very often, she in actual fact is out in Italy. At the same time, too, as another property lawyer that we've actually sort of had on board on occasions. And the two of them are finding it easier, I think, to meet up in Rome than they do in the UK. But they both operate from afar. They can do that because, if you like, they're UK property lawyers. So they know what they're doing when they're out there. One of the great things working with both of them, they also know that what I do, and I say I'm speaking on behalf of IPSA at this moment in time, because any member of IPSA has access to, so any solicitor who actually requests information from us has the same invaluable support that is remarkably really only available at the moment from independent providers. There are one or two, don't get me wrong, because we do have out there a couple of franchise operators, two of which are particularly good because I've worked with both of them, so I can recommend them, because they use, exactly as we do, people to carry out their searches are local to where that property is. And I'll just mention the two of them because they're great guys out there, and I met many of them from from both of these organisations. One of them is Express Legal. Met up with them very, very early on when I first started out some 20 years ago. And also Pally, another, I've actually sort of met up with them that's sort of long ago. But they are great, and the insights that they have, they are good because they do what we do. It's that local insight that gives.
It's local knowledge. It's and I mean, I've spoken to a number of IPSA members now, I'm very pleased to say, and there's one thread that runs through them all. Most of them have been not doing this for 5 minutes. They've usually had a career that often they were gamekeeper turned poacher, as it were, where they'd been working within the council and now working for themselves, and they've got a better knowledge of how the internal processes work than anyone. You use a one-size-fits-all type organization to get you your searches, they won't necessarily have the parlay, the rapport that members of IPSA do with their local councils. I mean, was it Heather that we were speaking? No, it wasn't Heather. It was
Jackie, I think.
That's it. And she was telling us it's like she literally grown the internal organization within the council before she'd left it. So she knew the internal structures as well as if she was still working there. It meant that she could then ask them questions that she knew they'd be able to answer. You know, it amazes me that the how valuable that kind of relationship can be.
I think sort of about adding to that is the fact that we all run our own independent businesses. As a consequence of being independent businesses, we can source other materials as well, because within that conveyancing process, there are external bodies who provide valuable information. Some of them I wouldn't go near, but there are others who themselves. I personally prefer the independent route. However, it's up to our clients. It's up to IPSA clients as to who they can go to. We've got access to any providers of any other searches if they have a preference.
Right.
It's the choice. It's the choice of source as well as the fact that we are localized. So there's quite a bit that we sort of do that does help ultimately the person that's buying or the person that's selling their property. And some of the people that we engage with, because we're also forward looking. I mean, some people speak about material information, and all material information is the kind of information people need to know before they make a decision about their property or a first decision. There's a lot to dig into. There's a lot that comes back in searches. And this is why working with particularly that independent solicitor, whether it's speaking to them online like Gareth and I are able to speak, or whether it's being able to walk into them in the high street. If you've got a good one in the high street, for heaven's sake, go there, because you sit down and have a cup of coffee. I mean, all Gareth and I do is sit and have a cup of coffee at a distance. However, I mean, that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But you've got that opportunity. You've got the element of choice. Get the right person to work with, the person you can speak to. And as I said, the great thing is that you can actually look at it from this particular sort of perspective. If you're in London carrying out and you want to be sort of carrying out some conveyancing work there, there's a good chance, because your solicitor happens to be based in London, their overheads, their charges are going to be that little bit higher. And to be quite honest, go for them if you know the solicitor. It's knowing the person that's important. However, I mean, one of my great sort of colleagues up there in the Northeast, the cost of the cost for those particular solicitors, their overheads are that a little bit lower. It's also a good investment area. So it's sort of great because you can work with people from, as I said, all over the place. A developer doing one thing in one area, an investor doing something in another area. If you like, the solicitor sort of somewhere else, and of course that local person who happens to cover Grimsby. They've been going into Grimsby for goodness knows how many years. So there's a lovely collective there that we can actually put to good use to get an overall picture, that round sort of almost a holistic picture because unfortunately what we do, I feel, if we're not careful, we will go down the route and it's only a single source for absolutely everything. And
No, I think that's exceptionally dangerous. Without local knowledge, without being tapped into what's going on within a locality, you can often miss things. But not only that, but if you might not know where the best place is in that locality to find that kind of information, going to the council will only give you a percentage of all the information you need. There's other things you need to know, are there not, Hamish?
oh, there's much more in the picture, and of course, people over time have become used to what it says, and because of that, I think we've because recently what's happened. This is a great thing about using somebody independent, is the fact that they keep on top of what is going on. We don't have to go through this continuous professional development, but the majority of people do, and we do it through conversations like this with our particular sort of members, and we can sort of keep them up to date. Land registries, we know, are taking over bit by bit the control of land charges. Well, not so much the control, but the sale of. They are selling the land charges information instead of going to the council. Now, the thing is, what does that mean for the solicitor out there? And all of us independent souls know that they've got to go to yet another place to get more information.
Right.
It does speed the process up. Go to an IPSA member, and the IPSA member is familiar with it. And if you like, the receiving solicitor, the receiving client, will get exactly the same information as they used to do, apart from one or two things that the land registry have done a couple of things which I don't think are ultra beneficial. However, the fact that somebody experiences dealing with that unrefined data means it goes out the right way. That's what IPSA searches are about.
So, actually, do you know what? For those of you that are joining us from IPSA, I thank you. And as you can see, we're flying the flag for IPSA. But I want to talk to all of you out there that don't necessarily know what IPSA is. Now, it's an organization, Independent Property Search Association. Hamish is the current chairman, and the promotion of that is partly, the responsibility of this channel. But more importantly than all of that, we champion the use of locally sourced knowledge. That's to say, not going to a centralized place and cast its net around and hopefully catches most of the information. We champion the use of the right local people for the right local search. And that's where IPSA really comes into its own, because each of its members, as Hamish has already said, is running their own business, but part of IPSA as a whole. So if you go to IPSA and you're looking for someone in, Middlesbrough and you're doing some searches and around there, Hamish will immediately recommend, or the team will recommend, the right people you could be in touch with to give you the right knowledge that's in that locality. It's wonderful. They're all very supportive, all very focused on making sure that people have the right information at the right time. And working with the solicitors, there's another thing, and we've mentioned this before, and I'm going to perhaps hang on about it again, and that is this. Just because you're working with a estate agent, it doesn't mean you have to use the solicitors or the legal team that they recommend. You might want to cast your eyes around and perhaps even ask your localized IPSA member who they've had the best dealings with. They might recommend a couple of people for you to check out as well. Talk to your IPSA member that's nearest to you to get some real on the ground feel. And I reckon that they do most of their business through relationships. So I know it's the current fashion to move towards AI based and data driven and all the rest of that. But relationships, they're very important, aren't they, Hamish?
Oh, absolutely. I think this is one of the great things, because members of that particular sort of team, IPSA itself was established in 2005 by Jackie, who we mentioned, Jackie and Steve. Steve, in fact, has retired out of it now, but we owe an awful lot to them. And we still grab their knowledge. We can still get in touch with Steve. should we actually sort of need to. But it's those relationships which sort of count. And that they've been established for all of those years. So you can pick the phone up. It might be 9 months, 12 months, 18 months since you last spoke, but it's almost resuming it. And of course, with our various meetings that we have with some of the specialists that come to talk to us, it's great to have that social aspect of it too. That social aspect, professionals who work together much of the time don't get to see each other. However, we know each other, and relationships count for so much.
They really do. On that note, I just want to thank everyone for listening, and I hope you've got something out of it. I see a whole bunch of you flashed up on my YouTube, and a bunch of you on X, bizarrely. Thank you very much for watching. Hamish, as ever, and I'm shameless plug, will be around tomorrow at 10 o'clock for Property Quorum, where you're going to get a discussion amongst a whole range of property professionals, anything up to 5 of them there, and me there in the midst of it all. And on Friday, Hamish and I run a separate thing called Property Matters. At the moment, we're talking. Are we still talking? Are we focusing on cladding?
Oh, cladding, yes. It's still as serious, and it's not being taken as seriously as it needs to be.
So for the moment, we've renamed it Cladding Matters, and we're going to be talking more about all things to do with buildings, cladding, and so on and so forth. If that sparks your interest, please do turn up then. But until the next time I see you all, I wish you all a wonderful week. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Remember to use a bit of sunscreen. And dare I say it, look after that mental health. Until next time we see you, bye-bye now.